This is code.org, and this is my awesome Hackathon app. Let me show you what it does. I'm gonna hit run. Boom. Woo, look at that. A album. Let me hit start. So right now, search options. What order do I want the results to go? I'll leave it at oldest, and then I'm gonna say I wanna look for blues albums. Search. It loads a picture. It's right now loading all of the data and sorting it. Boom, and there we go. There it is, in order, all of the blues albums that we had available to us. Now I can hit restart, and maybe now I want to leave it at blues, but I want the newest. Let me hit search again. Pow. This is a complicated app. This is grown-up, big kids stuff, and it's a challenge for you. If you're into this, if you're thriving, if you want to do something difficult, you do. You should. This stuff is awesome. I'm going to walk through how to make an app that isn't just run-of-the-mill simple. If you want to challenge yourself, you want to learn, you are into this stuff, this is the tutorial. It's complicated, and it's complicated because I find that fun, and I enjoy working with algorithms that kind of push the limits of what we have learned. So if that sounds good to you, challenge yourself. Let's build something difficult. All right, let's get started. Let's first take a look at requirements, which we're definitely going to fulfill. We want to have at least 3 screens, done, and then we need to be able to navigate. That means no dead ends. If someone gets stuck and doesn't know how to get to another screen, they likely will disengage with your app within 3 to 5 seconds, and that is bad. We want our apps usable. Dataset used in a meaningful way, that's definite, and you can kind of pick what you want to use there. At least one is transversed using, that just means moved through. Map, producer, filter, and I will be making use of those. Programming constructs, variables, functions, conditionals, lists, loops, absolutely. Comments above each of the functions, great IDs for elements, and no errors. Awesome. This is doable, and not only doable, it's going to get done. Let's get going. All right, so for my data set, I'm going to do and what I'll be showing you is going to work on a ton of these data sets. I'm specifically going to do Rolling Stone. So let me preview and explain briefly why. I'm going to be going through, for instance, how to split up something with commas, because I want to be able to sort by this. I'm going to go through sorting by the year, right, least to greatest. And then I'm also going to make use of this picture. But again, this will work with a lot of data sets, so make sure to have your own project. Use your own brain. Import, there, cool. And now I just need some basic design elements here. So this will be my start screen. I'm just going to say start. And then I need a label. And this will say music search. Oh, app title is what that will say. Music finder, sure. And then, I don't know, these usually need to be larger. That looks good to me. I might even do this one off center, and then I can throw an icon here. So I'll call this title image 1, I guess. And then I might use actual images later, but for now I'm just going to use some of their icons. That looks good. And then I'll have an image B here too. And again, I might use album covers or something like that later. Icons, music. Sure, some headphones. Okay, and then let me pick a theme, which I always been this is going to be and then for a theme, maybe polar bear for this guy. Yeah, I'm liking that for now. Okay, let's make sure to rename our screen. Notice it says screen 1. I want that to be start screen. Awesome. And then I'm actually going to duplicate this whole screen to create our second screen, because it will give us a good place to kind of start off. Let me make sure to click on the whole screen. I'm going to hit duplicate. Now first I'll click off of I'm not going to use that image actually. So I will get rid of that. And then I'm going to click off onto the screen. I don't want this screen 1. This is going to be my input screen. Okay. And then up here, I'm going to make this a bit smaller, but I'll say search options. And again, since this isn't the title screen, I'll probably do this at like 32. Might drag this down here somewhere. And I think I'm going to now have that be centered. Cool. And I might have an image on this page, not certain yet, but I guess I won't get rid of this. So I'm just going to call this and again, make sure to name everything, put in a good name. Input image, because this is the input screen. I'll say input image 1. And I could even throw a color on it if I want. All right. Now I want their first option to be a radio button. Like I said, radio buttons are nice because you can only select one at a time. It forces the user to only pick one at a time. And that's what I want to do for the sorting of this. So I want to sort it from least to greatest or greatest to least by year. So what I'll do then is, let me size this so I can actually use it. 20 is great. And then this is going to be new BTN. And for the group, I'm going to say sort radio, because it's a radio button. So this is the sort. If they click this, I want the newest year to show first. And then I'm going to, where do I want this? No, that's a good spot. I'll duplicate this guy. And this is add an X of 50, Y of 100, X of maybe 200, 175. And I'll put some simple labels. You might think of a way to have a more clear label, but I'll go ahead and drop this. Oh, huge problem though. Your radio button, this radio button I just copied, make sure they have the same group ID. That's what lets it know what to connect, because we only want one of these checked. If they click over here, it can't still be sorting by the newest first. That being said, I'm going to select this one and hit check, and that one will default to being true. So I'll say, new label, because it's the newest, and I'll just say newest maybe. You could also say ascending, descending, but I have found that some people get those mixed up occasionally, and yeah, I'm going to use duplicate here once again. I'll go ahead and put oldest. And this is again just the sort order. So cool. 17 I'm liking, that's fine. The Y position, might just go down a little bit, but this isn't a huge deal. Okay, this is looking good, and this is the first option I am going to want them to have. So let me just change this button to be search button, and it's going to say search. We will have more options on this page. For now, though, this will do nicely. And now I want, I'll go ahead and duplicate this page. Duplicate. Oops, I'm duplicating the wrong thing. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this page. So let me click off. Make sure you're having the page selected. Duplicate. And now this is going to be the results page or screen. And oops, notice that this is the radio button. That's fine. I don't need these buttons. Just going to get rid of those. Let me click up here on our title, and I'm going to say results title, because it's the results screen title. I'll say results here. And maybe I will use this image again, but I'll have it maybe up here this time. Something like that. And result image 1. And if you have better names for your, better IDs for your items, good. Make them better. 2. And then I want a text output that will actually, display the search results. And we're going to make use of the images and things like that too, but for now this will be sufficient. So I'm going to say result text area, and it can be blank to start. I might increase the font by 1 here. And then this will be restart, or actually we'll have search again maybe. So I'll just call this restart button and write restart. Okay, and we don't want this named screen 2, so let me make sure to click on the screen and get it named the results screen. And I think everything's labeled right. Great. So let's get started on the code now that we have a basic outline. First off, we need to grab our data. And to do that, I'm headed to variables because I want to make a list for some of that data. I'll go into block mode. It's easier to read oftentimes. Let me see if I'm zoomed in enough. It's a bit better. All right, so here we are. And what will I need? I'm going to get the album title. So I'll make a list called titles. I'm going to get the release year. So I'll say, I'm just going to say years, honestly, for the list. And if I want to be clear, you can also do, because it gets confusing, I could say titles list. I can say years list, and that might be helpful. I'll actually do that throughout this. Years list, titles list. That's going to be sufficient for now. Let me go ahead and grab my data. Whatcha. All right, get column. Column of what? Well, from my data, my 500 albums. If you don't have anything showing there, make sure you hit import, and it's over here. Cool. With that done, let's go ahead now and say right here, that again. And now I need to pick what column. Choose. And this is going to be the title. So not album art. Year. What am I missing? Album. Oh, so they just call it album. So that's fine. Titles list. And then I want the release year. Cool. And what this will be is a huge list. It's going to grab everything in the album column and put it into a list. This will be 0. Remember, lists are always indexed at 0. That means the first item here, that is index 0. It sounds weird. Second item is index 1, 2, 3. Just know that they start at 0 when counting these. So we'll have a huge list of the album names, and then we're going to have a big old list of the release year. All right. Now, what are we going to want to do first? Well, I want the ability to move from the start screen to the next screen, so on and so forth. Those are all events. So I'm going to need on event, which hopefully you just screamed to your computer because you knew it. I'm going into text mode just so I can put some spaces here because I think it's easier to read. This isn't necessarily required. All right. And what's going to happen here? Well, on the event that the I mislabeled something we're going to have to look at, but start button. On the event that the start button is clicked, what do we want to do? Well, I want to move to the next screen. So I'll have set screen and input screen. Great. So now we're on this screen. Let me check some things here. That's radio button. Let's make sure you always want your IDs to make sense. So radio button 2 doesn't make sense. I'm going to say old radio because this is the oldest first. And okay, new, I'm going to call that a radio though. Great. And then let's make sure we got our labels, new label, old label, label 2. Okay, that should be search title maybe because it's the title of the search screen. Or maybe search, maybe options title. Okay, great. Now, we want on the event that the search is clicked, we need it to go to the search screen. So once again, I'm going to do a set screen and result screen. Now on the event that, because on the result screen, we have restart. So on the event that there it is, the restart button is clicked, I'm actually just going to have it go back to the search screen instead of taking them to the main. And that search screen was the input screen where the user, gets to input their data. Awesome. Okay. We're off to a good start. Keep in mind, if you are needing to add comments, if you want to add comments before everything, these could be relatively simple. 2 slashes means the computer doesn't read it. It's for humans. Allows user to get to input screen. Something like this is entirely sufficient, I would think. And then this would be allows user to move from input to result screen. Allows user to start a new search. Cool. All right. Now, we have all our data in these lists, which is great, but we haven't sorted them yet. And so to do that, I'm going to make a function that this is a perfect opportunity for a function because we might want to use a sorting method, a sorting function in different parts of our program. And bing, 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 functions are perfect for usability and reusability. So I'm dragging out a function here, and I'm going to call this sort list. Sure, sort list. Or I could say sort titles, maybe. Sort by year. Sort by year. Okay, great. Now to do this, I'm going to use a for loop. It's really important you understand how a for loop works. And let me go into some detail here. So here I have my for loop. You don't need this. This is just so it's easier to read and I can zoom in and stuff. Okay, here's our for loop. Right now, I have for I is equal to 0. I is less than 4 I++. What that all means, I'm going to pull it out of my function just for a second so it will run, is I, our variable, is set to 0. As long as I is less than 4, the code in here runs. The code in the blue mouth thing will run. And I increases by 1 each time. I++ is a complicated way to say add 1 each time. So let me show you what's going to happen when this does get run. And I'm sure a lot of you are already pros at this, but it is a confusing topic. All right, council, and here. I'm going to just put an I with that you don't necessarily need, but I want to be clear what's getting pushed out here. Let me hit run. And there we are. So I starts at 0. Yep. 0, because I is 0, is less than 4. True. Okay, so it will keep going. Oh, and I'm going to need to add 1 to I at the end. Okay, so let me first go through. Okay, I, this is just a string. Let me output I. What's I equal to? Well, we just said 0. So it says this I thing that I added, 0, hits the bottom of our loop. Zoop. I is less than 4. Well, wait, actually, what did I say? We have to add to it because I++. So right now I is 0. Boom. I is now 1. Is 1 less than 4? The computer will say true. And so now it gets to run this again. It spits out I and 1. Hits the bottom back to the top, 1++, so 1 plus 1 is 2. Is 2 less than 4? The computer will say true, gets to run this code inside, outputs I2, hits the bottom back to the top, 2++, so 2 plus 1 is 3, so I is now 3. Is 3 less than 4? The computer says, yep, true. It will output I and then the actual value right here, hits the bottom back to the top, and it says, okay, 3++, so 3 plus 1 is I is 3 less than 4. That's false, and it's now done with our loop. If I had something beneath it, it would just keep running the code underneath. That's what a loop's going to do. Now, our list is going to have more than 4 things. So, to use it, we need to make sure we go through every item in the list. How we're going to want to do that is by getting the length of our lists. No, you don't have to sit there and count them and put in the number. That's actually not a great way to do it, because the list might change. We could add things, we could delete things, who knows? So what I'm going to do is grab out, this is string length, but it works for a list too. If you're wondering why, because a string is technically an array, it's technically a list of characters. Mind blowing. Anyways, what I want here is I'm going to go ahead and put my year list. I could do title list as well. They should be the same length. I guess I said years list. I'm going to forget to do this a million times. Years. So I'm going to say year list and title list and just leave off those S's. Okay. So the length of the year list, and now it's going to go through however long the year list is. Let me hit run. Boom. Very long, right? Very long. So now we know we're going through the whole list. Awesome. How do we access the items in our list? Well, I can do, to get something in our list, let me delete all this. I'm going to do our year list, and this is called an index, I. And then I'm going to leave this in quotes because I want to show you what I equals each time it prints something. Let's hit run. Might take a second. So here's all of our years being printed. And that is because why this is happening is year list is equal to all the years. I starts at 0, which sounds weird, but again, our lists are indexed at 0. So if I go to data, the first item in my list right here, 1967, is at index 0. 1966 here, index 1, index 1, index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. It actually starts at 0. That is a good thing though, because you might think you'd want it to start at 1. However, if it did start at 1, if I said I is less than year list length, that would be a problem, because that way I would never get to the end of the list. It would always miss the last item. I would have to do I is less than year list length plus 1 or is less than or equal to. Just keep in mind, indexes start at 0. All right, that being said, we now can access all of the items in this list. However, we want to be sorting them. So to do this, I want to point out a few things in JavaScript. JavaScript has a sort function. JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, will run in this application. This is JavaScript. So if you are interested in that, you should go look up sort and see if you can figure out how to use it in code.org. That being said, I want to use the blocks we have already learned. At this point, I want to get into the actual sorting. We won't need this. We will need our for loop. Sorting data can be complicated. There's actually entire algorithms and logic set up to do this. What I'm about to demonstrate is the bubble sort. Let me refresh this. And there are a lot of sorting algorithms. Insert, select, bubble, heap, quick. Don't let this freak you out. Keep in mind, you could use any of these. If you're really interested, you definitely should Google them. Bubble is not the fastest sorting algorithm, but it's one we have the tools to use right now, and it is more efficient than some. So you'll learn about those algorithms if you get more deep into computer science. Sort var. I need a few variables here. I'm going to have a temp variable because what a bubble sort will do is it's going to compare two items next to one another data. So my two items next to one another will be these years. And depending on whether I want to use greater or less than, it will say, okay, is the value at index 0, 1967, less than the value at index 1, the second item's index 1, at 1966? No, that would be false. So what we would do is we would store 1967 in a variable. We would then move 1966 to here. Then we would use that variable and save over this 1967. That's how we can flip-flop the values. Keep in mind, we're not just going to want to flip-flop those year values. We also need to flip-flop the names along with it. So that being said, I have temp, and then I also want a variable where I can track if a swap has taken place. Swapped will be false. Okay, now as we go through the loop, I want to check each time if swapped. I want to reset swap each time to false, and I'm going to need a second for loop. That is because we will go through the entire list, the entire array, comparing a value to all the other values that are within it. Let me show you here. So let me go back to control. For. If you feel like this is kind of shaky for you right now, it does make more sense as we go, especially once we get to see it in action. So this one is going to actually start with a J, and J is equal to 0. J is going to be less than whatever this is. So this is the year list, right? So year list dot length minus 1. And that's because we are going to consider items 1 beyond. We don't want to go all the way to the end. Otherwise, we will go past the back of the array. J++ here. Okay, now let me show you what would be inside of it. First, like I said, we will need a condition. So we're going to need an if. If, and I know this looks complicated, hang on though. If, what do we call it? Year list. So if year list J is greater than year list J plus 1. So I guess I'll actually sort to least to greatest to start. So if year list J is greater than year list J plus 1, I'm going to go ahead and swap those. How I will do this, and keep in mind, year list J starts at 0, so that will be the 0 index. J plus 1 will be the 1 past that. So to start off, this is 0, this is 1, and we would flip those around. Now, how I'm going to do this is I have this variable to save the original value for, so temp is going to be year list J. Now I'm going to replace year list J with year list J plus 1 because I'm putting it in order least to greatest, and this is less than this. So I'm going to move it forward into that spot. So, year list J is now going to be actually equal to the value that used to be at year list index J plus 1. Therefore, moving that value up because it is a smaller value. Now, we still have the old value that used to be in that year list J index spot, so year list 0 to start, we just saved over year list 0 because the item at year list 1, index 1, was less, but we still saved the old value to the temp, and now I can grab that old value and shove it back in to the year list J plus 1. This is a really complicated way to say I'm flip-flopping them, right? This is bigger than this number, so I'm flipping them. I'm saying splat, and I just flip them around because I want to get the smallest numbers to the top, biggest numbers go down. Okay, once I do all of this, though, I also need to swap the names, right? Because we have two lists. We have the names and the years. So to do that, let me go ahead and do this same type of thing. It's going to be so much so, I'm going to actually dive into the text for a second. And I'm going to go copy, or right-click copy, enter. I'm going to leave a note here. Swapping names also. And then paste, right-click paste. And instead of year list here, I would say name list. And we know the names are going to be in these same spots. So we need to swap the names if we're going to swap the years. So we keep them in the same order. There we go. And we can reuse temp name list. What did I call it? Title list. Is going to get swapped. Okay. And then what we have this true for right here is if no swaps are made after we go through the entire thing, we want to get out of here. So we're going to go ahead and say here first, swapped is equal to true. Okay. And then right here, after my for statement, I'm going to say if swapped equals false, and then, and they don't have it. So actually, we're just going to use break. They don't have this yet, but it's something common to use. What we're going to be doing with break is we're saying kick us out of this loop. So we don't need to be in this loop anymore. We're going to break out of the loop, which just kind of means move along. Now, this is complicated stuff. I want to make it clear, or at least as clear as I can. What's happening here? We're going to loop through our list a whole bunch of times. How many times? However big the list is. Each time we go through our list, in this for loop, I'm using this loop to compare only the items that are right next to each other. So right here, I'm comparing this, and then it moves on, right? Then I'm going to compare this and this. And if this is smaller, which it is, these get swapped and the names get swapped. Then I move on and I compare whatever's here and whatever's here. I might swap them if needed, and then I compare here to here. So if you're thinking index-wise, indexes would be one less. I compare 8 index to 9 index. I might swap those. Then I compare 9 index to 10 index. I might swap those, so on and so forth. Now, if any change is made at all, then I will keep going. That's what swapped is doing, this Boolean. I'm saying, okay, if this is different, if a change was made when we looped through the entire list, I track it with this variable. I say, is that true? If that is true, we keep going. If it is false, break kicks us out of this for loop because we don't need to keep going. If I looped through the entire list, looking at every single number compared to the number next to it, and I never made a change, this if was never true, then I can go ahead and be done with my entire loop. If it is true, I did make a change, then I go back to this for I loop, and I'm going to keep going, keep looping through the whole entire list again until I'm certain nothing has changed. The reason we're going to go back through the entire list is because we've moved stuff around now. And so there might be a number up here that is now next to a number that is smaller than it. And so we need to keep going back through the list to make sure it gets sorted. Complicated stuff. Let's try it though. I'm going to try it in our debugger down here. And so what I will do is let's do a console log of year list, or not a console log, a watcher on year list. And I'm going to go ahead and hit, oh, I have to run this list. So I'm never asking this to run. What I'll do for now, just for testing, is I'm going to drop this in here and I'm going to say sort by year. And so what should happen is it gets sorted by year. Let's find out what I messed up. So right now there's all the years. Notice they're not in order. 65, 71, 59, 67, 82, 82, 2001, no order here. And you can see it kind of working as stuff gets moved around. Cool, so that works. Let's see now if the names went along with it. In the wee small hours, Elvis Presley. So what year is that? 1955? Let's go look. I'm going to just do a search for 1955. In the wee small hours, oh, we only did names. So that's fine. In the wee small hours, let's double check though. Elvis Presley is the name of a song. Interesting. Oh, that must have came out in 56. That's confusing. Yep, it did. Okay, Elvis by Elvis. Cool. So that's working. We're sorting names and the year. Complicated stuff, right? But really cool. So that's the first thing we want to do. We know that works. So let's make sure we get it to screen. Now we're going to have a printing function. Function print. Okay. And so I'm going to say print list maybe. And this will also have a for loop, for I, and then I'm just going to do the length of the list. What list I'm using to store all of this. I'm going to call this actually print entire list, because we might have a situation where we only want to print a few items. So print entire list. And then what am I going to print? I'll go off of the year list.length still, because that works just fine. And then how do I want to do this? Well, I'm going to use, I'll use a string because I want to output it in a particular format. So I'm going to use a string variable, and I'll say var output str or output string. I'm going to set this equal to nothing. And then inside of this, I'm going to say my output string is going to be equal to my output string plus, and here's where this stuff comes in that we need. I'm going to put the album's name first, and I'm going to put the year first because I like that it will be, see, now I'm debating. I'll put the name first, so title list, and then and then I'm going to go ahead and do I'm trying to think how to make this the most readable. Title list, then and then I'm going to go ahead and do a plus, and then I'm going to do a space. Actually, I'm going to do a comma and a space, and then I'm going to put the year, and that will be year list and then I'm going to do a new line character. So plus, and that just means a line break. So every time we get to the end of an item, it goes to the next line. /n is the way to do a line break. Okay, so this is going to smack that all into some big string with the title list and the year list and put it all together. And then I need to output it to my result screen. Set text. After all that, what did I call this? Result text. Result text area. And then I have to put my cursor, use the arrow keys, and to kill off this thing fully, and it will finally let me. And I'm going to set it to output string. Okay, cool. This never runs though. So we got it sorted. Now we're going to want to run it. I'm going to run it after we sort by year. So after we sort by year, actually, let me get, since it's going to be on the output screen, I'm going to move down sort by year to here, and we will be making more changes. And then here will be our print entire list. Cool. All right, let's hit run. Start and search. And there we go. So you'll notice that delay, right? It takes time because of how long the list is. That's the reason it's doing this. We can still enable it and just put a loading item here, which I'm probably going to do, but we are also going to give them more ways to narrow down the search, so maybe that won't happen to them. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to be done, I can put some text here in design mode that says, loading, please wait. Something like this. Boom. Cool. So that's all functioning. Now, what I'm going to focus in on next is we can sort an entire list by, I guess we're doing oldest first. So I'm going to go ahead and change the default in my design mode as well. Let me go ahead and say you are checked, and that means that would not be. Okay. And then I'm going to have another function. So this is printing the list from biggest to smallest. I'm going to have an if statement in here, actually, because I need to know what if they actually want newest. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this for statement there. I'm going to dive into my text. And I'm going to have two for statements. This one, though, will have I start at year list dot length -1, because the length is the entire length, and length doesn't start at 0. So length is always one more than the last index, so -1. And then I need I to never be less than 0. So I'm going to say I is greater than -1. That way it can be 0. And then I'm going to put I minus. And this will be if they want to do the newest first, if they want to go with the newest one first, that's fine. We just need to print the list in reverse, because when we sorted the whole thing, we put the oldest item first, right? The smallest year first. So if we want to print the largest year first, we need to reverse print. And that's all I'm doing here. Subtract 1, start I at the end of the list, and count down. That way it will go in that order. Now, what's this going to be based on? This will be based on a value represented by our radio buttons. So var, I'll call this sort. I'll call this oldest first. Oldest first. And I'm going to set that to true, right? Now, what I'll do is use on events. Nope. When they click search, I'm going to grab the radio value. So oldest first will be equal to, if they hit search, oldest first is going to be equal to property. What do I need? Old radio button. And then I need the checked. And so if it's oldest first is true, then I'm going to print it out as normal here. And if it's false in all other circumstances, I'll print it reverse. What's this yelling at me? I has already defined it. So even though it's not going to ever run at the same time, it's annoyed that I'm using I twice. So in order to avoid this, I'm going to just do a var I up here. Boom, boom, not define it, right? Just declare it, not give it a value, and then get rid of the var down here and just have I. Are we having fun yet? This is getting fun. All right, let me hit run. Start and search. Now it says loading, and you can see what it does over here. It's kind of cool. Boom, and now I'm going to hit restart, newest, and it just flips them. Pretty cool. Okay, so that works. What else do we want filter-wise? Think of what they asked us for. They asked us for filter, a map, or a reduce. I want to do the map next because I want to split up subgenres so we can sort by genre and then we can sort by subgenre. So to do this, though, let me go ahead and first make a function that sorts by genre. Actually, first, let me add some comments. Output entire list to result page. sorts list smallest number, or the oldest to largest newest. Okay. And now let's go ahead and have a function that will allow us to grab only the values of the genres we want. That means, though, I'm going to need a new list up here for those genres. So var, I'm going to drop it here and say genre list. Genre, okay. And then I'm going to have a drop down so they can pick. And then how many genres do they offer? I could have that loaded in automatically, or I could just write all of these in. It looks like most of them, do they allow more than one genre? So this has multiple ones. Oh, that's one genre? Okay. Okay, so they have rock. All right, we'll just put them in ourselves. Design. And this will be genre drop down. Rock. I already forgot what they were. I'm going to use copy paste because I will just keep forgetting copy, which is you can right click and then click copy. Boom. 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 I want all this on a line. Oh, it is. Okay. And then what else is there? Rock. Rock. So some of these are combined. So let me just grab some of these. And I will show you how to split them up. Next. Blues. Cool. Okay. I bet I'm not going to... What is that? Hard bop? Reggae. Roots reggae. Classical. We can even have this list be populated by code. That could be something fun. Electric blues. So you can see what I'm doing with this. This is going to be a genre list. I need to, though, as I'm noticing, and hopefully you are too, some of these contain more than one genre. They're separated with commas. So I want to split that up. So I am going to, in this function, this is going to be select by genre. Sure. Okay. What I need to do, though, is I am now going to do what we call mapping, and I'm going to be changing up a list. I want to check this entire list here, and if there is more than one item in a cell of the list, I want to break it into multiple strings. So I'll put a list inside of a list. Right now, it's just a single string, so if the user wants to find a rock song, and I want to list out all the rock songs, this song would not show because it has more than one genre. So to do that, I'm headed to my code, and what I will do, I have this function. I need to loop through every item in my genre list. So for I is equal to I, genre list dot length, I++, standard stuff there. Now for each item in that list, what am I going to need to do now? I want to find if there is a comma, because that's how they're separating everything out, is this comma. So let's see what we got to do that. Join, insert, append, remove. Okay, so I'm going to loop through each string to see if there is a comma. So var j is equal to 0. J is going to be equal to genre list I dot length, because it's a string. We can still do dot length on a string. So right now I'm asking how long the particular string is. And what I'm saying here is right here, I'm looping through all of these. If I get here, this string is however many characters, 4, 5, every letter plus the comma is characters. So how long is that whole thing is what I'm asking here, because I'm going to loop through that whole thing. Now, what I will do, var cur index is equal to 0, is I'm going to say if genre list I, and now I'm going to put a j here. So this is called a multi-dimensional array, which is complicated. But so if the string here at index j, so if this thing at this will be item 19, so item index 18 in the list, and then at index 4 is this comma. So 18 in the list, 4. So if that is equal to a comma, what am I going to do? I want to break it up. So I'm going to do a temporary list as well. Temp list. And I need to redefine this each loop through, because each time I need to empty it out before we move on to the next point of our list, before we go through. All right, so now I need to loop through. Okay, if it's equal to that, what am I going to do? I'm going to append. I need a substring. Blocks might be helpful. I would need a substring. I want to make this as clear as possible. I'll say str genre. Okay, so I'm going to use that for my substring, and I'm going to say str genre is going to be equal to genre list I dot. So the genre list I is the entire string. It's everything within it. And then where is it going to be equal to? What do I want to grab out of it? A substring is when you're cutting up a string. And so I'm going to want to get the current index, which at first will be 0. And then I want to get wherever that comma is. So I want to get all of those letters in between and smack them into my string genre here. I then am going to want to take this and go ahead and append it. Append, what's my list name? Temp list. And what am I going to append? str genre. I'm going to append this to the temp list. And then I need to set the new index for my current index to what I just current index. If I found a comma, I need to add 2 to j. So my current index will be j plus 2, because I don't want to include the comma and I don't want the space after it. And then I can loop through. Once I am done looping through this and finding all of the commas, I'm definitely going to need to add that last item, because it doesn't end with a comma. There's going to be one leftover thing. So I'm going to append the last item to our list by putting it here outside of my for loop. Outside of this for loop. This for loop is the one that is going through each individual string. This for loop is going through every genre from the list, so all 500 records. So outside of it, I want to grab the append item temp list. And then what do I want to append? Well, it's going to be, I can use this again, copy, paste. It's going to be the current index, and then it will be the current index to the end of the list. And what list is that? That is the genre list I dot length minus 1, because length goes all the way to the end and the index is 1 less than the length. Let me see what this looks like. It looks scary, but we're getting there. String genre. Okay, and that should do it. We should be appending that genre to this. And then after all of that, once we get all those appended, we need to go ahead and change. This is where the mapping comes in. I'm going to change the data in my list from a string, all this mushed together, to a singular list. So each item will actually be a list of items. And to do that, I'll do genre list I is going to now be equal to the temp list. Wow, that is a lot. Extra line's going to bug me. Let me scroll up here. And let me give this a test. I'm going to actually close that though and hit run. Okay. Now this isn't going to run yet, right? So actually, when should I run this? I can run this when we start, right on the start screen. I'm going to run it actually right away because I want to go ahead and get these genres out. So select by genre. Let's actually say genre to list would make more sense because we're converting all of those genres into a list. I'm going to ask it to run way up here, just automatically as the program starts genre to list. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and have genre list down here just so we can view it when I test this. Genre list I is not defined. This happens. Oh, I. You don't want to go up by I. We're going up by J. Let's give that a try. And you see how some of these have multiple items in their lists, which is great. So that's getting broken out, and we can even see it more if you want to do like genre list to index. It should give us, oh, this can't have a -1. You don't want -1 there, actually. Should be it. There we are. And then let's do, I don't know, genre list 5. And then let me see the whole thing again. I want to do one with multiples. So 4. Cool. Okay. And so it is doing that. Great. So now that we have those ready to go, we can use that to select a genre. So now I want a filtering system, and that's a map, right? So we took something and that was a string and we changed it into a list of those specific genres. So now we can have a map, or we can filter it down using that. Control 4, and then I'm going to have a new array. So this is going to be I'm going to have this array list, is what we're calling it, output list, and it's just going to be empty to something equal. I'm going to make heavy use of this though, because that will allow us to be able to use the same print function for everything. So let me go ahead now way down here, and then what I'm going to do here is var I, and then I want this equal to genre list dot length. I want to go all the way through that genre list. And while I am doing so, I'm going to use another loop to look through the individual genre list and see if there is a match. So for J genre list I dot length. And then what will this be equal to? Well, I need a variable for their selection of genre. So genre choice is equal to, I'm just going to have it equal an empty string. And then when they hit search, we'll go ahead and search button. Genre choice is going to be equal to UI control get value, get text actually, genre dropdown. And then down here, I need to make sure that's J as well. And then if genre list I, and then we're on the index of I, but then the second part, J, is the item we are in that specific list, because there's going to be 2 lists. There's all of the genres, and then we've broken these into lists themselves. So this, and this as well. So that'll be the index of each individual genre in the specific item we're on. So if that specific thing is going to be equal to genre choice, then what do we want to do? Then we're going to append item, and I'm just going to grab the name for these. So I'm going to have the output list, and then I'm going to have the title list, and then wherever we're at, which is I. Okay. That also means we should make sure to clear out this list each time. So I want to make sure when we get into this function, we clear out our output list, because otherwise we could have leftovers. And that should be adding the genre to our list. Let me go ahead and throw in a comment here. Filter out by specific genre. And then to make sure I know they want to use the genre though, because maybe they don't want to sort by that. We have an input here. Options. I could have it blank. I could say none, right? And I'm going to make this more complicated. You can list it out like this. No, I'll leave it like that. I'm going to say none. So, and this will be filter by genre. Okay. And I'm only going to run this though if we actually want to filter by genre. And then I'm going to have its own print statement as well. Function output genre results. And what this will be is I'm going to loop through and output the array. So where do I already have a print? Print entire list. I'm going to copy this. Copy. I'm going to go down here. Paste. And then I don't need this if. Oh. We can use this if again, actually, because if we want to do, yeah, we're going to do that. So once we learn variables and parameters, we won't need to be doing as much copying and pasting as I am now. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to use this again because then we can still sort by year for genre, which is kind of nice. And then append list title. And then what am I going to do here is if that's all true, I'm not going to put the year. If they're doing the genre sort, I'm leaving off showing them the year. But I will still do the title because that's what I'm appending. And what I'll do is output list. I'm just changing all of this to output list instead of title list or year list. I'm taking off the year because, again, I'm only appending the titles. You can do a second list of the years and still use it if you want. But for this purposes, that will be sufficient. Output string, output list. That is looking good. And so, great. Filter by genre. And when will this run? Once they hit search, let me go here. I'm going to use an if. So search button, if genre choice does not equal none. Otherwise, we don't need to do these things. I already forgot both their names. Filter by genre, output genre results. I'm just copying and pasting. I'm going to drag this down one to here. Okay. The final thing I want to do is, oh, no, I need to add the genre to this. So when I'm sorting in terms of a year, I need to still be sorting with the genre as well, like I did for these other two. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So I'm going to do, because I need to keep all the lists in the same order so their data stays the same. I just did Control-C, Control-V, swap genres. And then I'm going to have genre list, right? Because that's what I'm swapping here. And I'm going to make sure those stay together. Okay, the last thing I want to do is to be able to show album artwork. Now, there's a bunch of places I could do this. Really where I'm going to do it is, let me see what we got math-wise. Random number. Yep, I'm just going to use a random number. Cool. So you can do what you want with this. You can add it to different pages. How I'm going to do this, though, is I just want to use some of the artwork randomly. They give us access to it through a URL right here, which why not use? I'm going to do var picture list, data, get column, choose, choose album art, right? Cool. And then when they start, I'm going to say UI set property. Oh, nope. I want to do this on start. So what am I going to set? The start screen title image to. And then what do I want to set it? I want to set the image. And then what do I want to set it to? I'm going to delete this. I'm going to move the cursor behind both these. And then I'm going to say picture list. And then in these brackets, I'm going to do, how do they say this? Random number. And I will say 0 being the smallest index to picture list dot length. Let me go ahead, shrink and shrink. Picture list dot length, set property, what's this mat at? Oh, and I need to close that. There we are, just getting things out of order. Let's see. Yeah, and so what should happen is it will randomly change that. I'm gonna do though the same right here. I'm gonna copy that, and then when it says on event start, it does the genre list, it sets the input screen. I'm also gonna do this, except now I'm gonna do in the input screen, input image. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this again though, because remember they can go back to the input screen by clicking the restart, and I'm gonna do it here. Let's see. Oldest. So this should list all of them because I didn't select a genre. And it will list all of them with years. But first it has to go through that sort. And that's looking good still. I'm going to get rid of all of this. Okay, now let me hit restart. Notice the image changed. Now let's see if I pick a genre. And I'm not formatting that, so that's going to bother me. Let's go ahead and then for the genre one. Genre. Okay, where am I? Output, append item, temp list. Oh no, that's great. Okay, filter, append title list, whatever title that is. And then I'm going to say, yeah, this works. So whatever title it is, but I'm going to put this in parentheses just to kind of show you. I'm going to add though to whatever title it is, plus whatever year is at that spot. So year list I. How I'm going to do this though is I'm going to do the title, and then I'm going to have quotes and maybe a hyphen and a space and a plus, and then the year list. And then after that year, I'm going to put in quotes /in, so it pushes it down a line. Okay, let's see what that does. And I guess we can see if it's moving. And so I entered rock, and so these should only be albums that are rock. And you can tell it's a lot fewer albums. If we want to make super duper sure, I could still do this. I could do another plus here. I could say space, hyphen again maybe, space, plus, genre choice. But I feel like if they enter a genre, you know these are all going to be rock. We can certainly check, right? So I'm just going to go to sounds, pet sounds, and double check. What it was called. Oh, is it not loaded yet? Highway, and yep, it has the genre of rock there. Let's do, I don't know, freak out. And you can see this one's great because it's rock is the second one, but we still get it listed when we specify rock. And it's in order of oldest first. So let me do a restart. Let me do the newest first. Let me do a blues, and let me hit search. Boom. And if we want to check, let's check sleepless. Yep, and it's in a list. Pretty cool. You have a fancy, complicated program. And there's a ton more you can do with this. Heck, if you want an image right here randomly, you could throw one there. You can really, the sky's the limit on these applications. you guys are learning JavaScript, and this is the real deal. It's part of why I wanted to make this. I kind of wanted to show it off. I'm going to throw another image there because I can. And what this image will be is, what is this? Result image 3 maybe. And I can choose a default if I want, but really I'm just going to replace it anyways. When the results screen loads, I'm going to still just do it random, but you could have it be the first album or the last album, but on event search buttons clicked, what happens, blah, 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 and then set screen result screen. And I'm going to do result 3 picture list. Finally, don't forget to add comments above your functions. Explain what they're doing. I'm going to speed through that super fast of me doing it, but make sure to explain what your functions are doing. Yeah, pretty cool. It is endless what you can do with this stuff. And I just want to hit that again and again. This is a crazy complicated example, but it's complicated on purpose because the versatility of this, of using JavaScript, it's real world applications. It's Google's preferred programming languages. And I hope you enjoy making this. I hope this is challenging. And for some of you, maybe it won't even be. Build on this, make something better, and enjoy it. This is really useful stuff. That makes me sound smart. It's useful. You're going to be able to actually build things, build projects, and use this in a career if you want. So